Top of the evening to you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We're outside the shop because it's still nice and warm in the evenings anyway. We're in the cool of the evening technically though. And today, for your viewing pleasure, we have a nice little treat. This is kind of a follow-up to the concept when we were looking at the world's first viewing of the pre-production 500i prototype concept coming to fruition, if you will. Air cleaner cover from Max Flow. Again, maxflowfilters.com. He got a pretty good little gaggle of these covers in, but they all went away due to the pre-ordering that was happening. Once people found out he was finally able to get some of the covers in. Now we have to kind of talk a little bit, because I actually didn't mention this appropriately or completely, fully, if you will. I had another long conversation with Joseph, and he was explaining to me, I was talking about the R&D concept in this project taking a long time due to the COVID catastrophe that we're dealing with worldwide. One of the things he was further explaining to me was the fact that this cover right here is not a scanned type item. It's completely from scratch, whereas like the 661 cover, which this is one that I modified to fit on a 500i, I don't know, a year ago or something now at this point. But anyway, conceptually, this is completely brand new from scratch. That's another reason why it took so long. And again, we saw the white cover that was the first gen version of the prototypes. We're looking at the 4th gen version of the prototype cover right here. This is the pre-production version right here. I think there were 4 versions total before this one. No, 6. I think there were 6 versions, or this could be the 6th, but there's at least 6 in the process to get to this stage. How about that one? Now, one of the things that we kind of were talking about before was the fit and finish. Also, you take a cover that has to fit in the recesses that are designed in at the factory level, which, as we take a look, they do so nicely. And this is the 4th gen, so he's had that part of the equation dialed in for quite some time. I think I got this particular air cleaner cover for testing back in March, maybe, of this year, 2021. Joseph was gracious enough, and God was smiling on me nicely, and he managed to get me in on the first viewing of the pre-production, the ones that were actually injected, molded, if you will. They call them a rain cover technically. This is air cleaner cover, but it's technically a rain cover if you look at the reference material that he provides in the packaging. But they look really similar, but they are completely different. Now, one of the things that he was kind of, again, stopped by, we had a long convo the other night. You can see that the louvers are much larger than what we see in the stock rain cover on both sides, so he's allowing for a lot more air movement, which is super sweet. So that was another thing that we kind of discussed a little bit in that process as we were checking out some of the other things going on over at his place. But anyway, what we have tonight is we have the world's first viewing of the world's first production, actually packaged in retail packaging 500i cover, as far as I know. Nope, it came out this. Oh, first try, there it was. Okay, so this is the first one. It's not quite in retail packaging, but it's good enough for me, considering who it's for. first part that was ever made. So I was pretty happy when he told me about this part of the equation. It was kind of a nice little bonus for me being on a personal level. And the other thing that was kind of sweet is I ended up with some of the actual factory level accoutrements for adding onto whatever I might want to add onto, which is kind of nice. So if we look at the pre-production and we look at the production, it's a little shinier. Now, one of the problems that's going on worldwide, as far as I know, there are 4 plants that produce the pellets for the injection molding process. I heard last spring or last winter, one of them was taken out in a hurricane and one of them caught on fire. And so for a little bit of time, it sounds like there were only 2 plants producing those pellets. That's part of the reason why there's such a shortage of, well, anything you want to try to buy, because injection molded parts are pretty much on everything that's made nowadays in some capacity. So it took, it's taken a while to get things actually caught up and taken care of and figured out and dealt with. I guess we better put a nut on this cover. Now we're going to talk about one of the things that I was adamant about in multiple conversations was the actuation needed to be more stiff than what we see at the factory level. That was a big part of why I actually contacted him in the beginning, reiterating. I think I called him in March of 2020, pretty early March, because that's when my buddy Dave managed to send me his 500i. And cheers to my buddy Dave for doing that. Have a little drink of tea. Because he actually was gracious enough to send me his saw for a pretty good period of time. I had it for about 8 months or something while I played around with it, stiffened up the spring mounts, shot some videos, zip kitted the saw, but most importantly for like everybody out there, at least as far as regarding the cover situation, we got the ball rolling really soon, because when I started talking to Joseph about this particular cover situation for the 500i, they weren't available in America at that point. So it was probably 6 or 7 months later before they actually came online in America. But if we go back on track, so we have the nut on the very first part, we're going to use a pretty clean element assembly with the cage. It's complete. Now I'm thinking that you can hear the detent hit. On the 4th gen cover. Now one of the things when you're installing these, you got to make sure and you hit the slots with the little tangs here. There's one on both sides of this machine. It's a lot stiffer when you push it down there. You actually have to put some pretty good pressure on it. I kind of like it. And I missed the mark. Again, you have to be kind of careful when you're installing this thing and get it in the right spot. There we go. Again, fit and finish as usual for anything they're doing over there. It's factory level quality. You can see it follows the line of the tank over on this side, runs around over the top of the outside of the kill switch and the primer bulb assembly housing, if you will. Fits nicely everywhere you're looking along the back side of the tank, and again fits perfectly on this side as well. So another reason why it took so long was the fit and finish is superb for something that started life as a design concept and then came to life. And it has the same bulbous and flat design as the 4th gen version, as we see here. And again, reiterating on that part, this works better with the half wrap saws. When you set them on the side, it's not protruding out and hitting and making it, I don't know, move around or whatever. But he chose to design it that way, so this rain cover essentially isn't sticking outside of the profile of the handlebars, I guess. I never actually did much testing with the half wrap version. I pretty much built a set of full wrap handlebars for Dave's 500i immediately, and that's the way I run them on the West Coast, because guys are working on both sides of the hill. Sometimes you have to come at a tree from this side, sometimes you have to come at a tree from this side. So it's important when you're working on less than, well, if you're working on steeper ground, to be able to get at a tree from either side, left or right, I guess, technically. Hence the full wrap concept. But anyway, so it's a nice little treat for me. Oh, the other thing that I need to mention that Joseph was telling me about, if you order through the website, they have a new program, I guess, essentially new option, if you will, where you can actually get several of the green elements. Yeah, that has a nice actuation. You can hear it. And one of the things that happens when these filters become oiled, it behaves a little bit differently too, I will say that. But anyway, back on track. If you want to buy 2 green elements with your rain cover, that is now an option. If you would like to get 2 of the white elements, that normally how they're packaged is you have an option of 1 green and 1 white. We have 60 microns and we have 80 micron filter capacity, so this is a little bit less porous. And again, if it's desired for the customer to have 2 greens coming with their air cleaner assembly, then that is now an option, but it's only through the website. If you want 2 of the higher filtration system elements, which would be the white at the 80 micron level, that is also an option with your rain cover, and you get a cage and a backing plate, the whole 9 yards. You get the complete assembly. It just allows you to tailor the kit you buy to your particular use, or I don't know, desires, if you will. Now in a burn, a guy's probably going to want to run one of these. You can go all day. That's the only element that I know that you can do that in a burn. I don't know if I'd try to go all day with a green one or not on a personal level. I found that in super dry, dusty conditions, NorCal coast and redwood bark, 2.5 days is max with the green one. I changed them out every other day. I'd run them a couple days and then I would get a new element essentially. I didn't run the white one a whole bunch in the burn applications, but I ran it enough to know you can get a day out of the operation. So that's kind of a nice little added bonus for guys that don't ever use one or the other, or maybe you got a stockpile of whichever color and you want to stock up on the alternate pour size. That is now an option, but again, only through sales that happen on the website. So let's see if I can do a little bit better job getting this thing situated this time. Not so much. There we go. Yeah, Yeah, pretty sweet actually. So and you can hear the detent clicking. Well, at least I hope you can hear the detent clicking. I can hear it really well. It feels a lot better than the early prototype versions, at least from what I found. Okay, so we managed to have a nice little treat. Well, me, I guess, essentially. A nice little treat happened. Ended up with the first production part of the production run of the Max Flow rain cover for the 500i chainsaw. So God was definitely smiling on me with this operation. Alrighty, well, again, I'm like kind of walking in tall cotton, if you will, I guess, or tickled pink, however you want to phrase that. At this point, we're gonna put this up on a shelf somewhere, and we're gonna just let it be a little piece of chainsaw memorabilia, history, whatever, that just sits on the shelf and never actually sees action, which means I'm gonna have to buy the next one. So with any luck, Joseph will cut me a deal when I go to buy like some of the actual packaged ones for some of the saws that get built around my place. Alrighty, well, special thanks again to my buddy Dave over in Ireland for sending me that first saw. Man, you like started the ball rolling in a serious way. It's been kind of an interesting process. I got to kind of tag along with a little bit of the development and a little bit of the testing, and was able to like have conversations about some of the things like I'd like to see, you know, altered, changed, and then some of the stuff Joseph came up with all by himself, essentially, like making this so it wasn't banging on the rocks or the ground or whatever. Again, that's comes off of one of the saws he was using to fit all this stuff. Came in half wrap form. And so that was something that I was unaware of because I was not using one of those saws. And anyway, I'm hopeful that he'll watch this video as well and be well pleased at the outcome of what's actually said here today. So, with that, I hope you guys all have a super awesome day or evening or whatever it might be, and also have a blessed day wherever you might be on God's green earth. Thanks for watching.